We have waited since 2012 for somebody to understand our problems.
The video shows American Caitlin Coleman and her Canadian husband, Joshua Boyle, along with their children for the first time. Around ages 4 and 2, the boys appear healthy, but their clothing is dingy and their hands and faces appear unwashed.
My children have seen their mother defiled.
Coleman pled for President Obama to secure their release from what she called a Kafkaesque nightmare.
Obama, your legacy on leaving office is probably important to you.
She's being held by the Haqqani Network, a terrorist group affiliated with the Taliban. She and her husband disappeared while backpacking through a part of Afghanistan known to be an insurgent stronghold. At the time, Coleman was pregnant with their first child.
They are willing to kill us.
In an August video, Coleman warned that their lives were at risk. The Haqqani Network also held U.S. Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl for 5 years, until President Obama traded him for 5 detainees from Guantanamo Bay Prison in 2014. At the conclusion of the video, Coleman urges President-elect Donald Trump to meet her captors' demands.
They want money, power, friends. You must give them these things.
The families of the victims of the Orlando nightclub shooting are suing Facebook, Google, and Twitter. A federal civil suit filed Monday claims the tech companies provided material support to ISIS and helped radicalize the gunman Omar Mateen.
Tonight, a manhunt underway for the man accused of opening fire, killing this 3-year-old boy in an apparent case of road rage. A bystander calling 911 Saturday night.
The woman saying this little kid's been shot.
As the boy's grandmother, Kim King-Macon, desperately tried to revive the child.
Oh my God!
King-Macon says when she stopped at this intersection in Little Rock, Arkansas, the driver behind her honked. When she honked back, she told police the driver got out of his vehicle and fired a shot.
She thought he was going to fire up into the air with a gun. He didn't. He fired into the vehicle. That's when the child was struck.
It wasn't until she pulled into this parking lot that she realized that her grandson, who was in the back seat, was shot. Asen King later died Saturday night.
Well, North Carolina lawmakers are preparing to overturn the state's controversial bathroom law. It sparked a national debate and boycotts, opponents calling it an attack on transgender rights, while supporters say it is a protective measure to keep sexual predators from attacking women. The law required people to use bathrooms based on their biological sex. Outgoing Republican Governor Pat McCrory has called a special session to repeal it by December 31st. He's taking the step because the city of Charlotte just repealed its non-discrimination measure that started the whole controversy. McCrory says this new move proves it was all politically motivated, saying this sudden reversal with little notice after the gubernatorial election sadly proves this entire issue, originated by the political left, was all about politics and winning the governor's race at the expense of Charlotte and our entire state.
NASA's Mars rover Curiosity has found indication that Red Planet could have supported life for millions of years. The rover has found evidence of ancient lakes and wet underground environments that changed billions of years ago on Gale Crater. There might have also been fluid circulating with a kind of chemistry to form minerals for microorganisms. The Curiosity rover arrived on Mars 4 years ago to determine if the planet ever had ingredients for life.
This weekend, officials in California are locked in a battle against Uber and its driverless cars. Here's Carter Evans.
The same day Uber's self-driving vehicles hit the streets of San Francisco this week, the California DMV told drivers to put them in park, saying it's illegal until the company receives an autonomous vehicle testing permit. On a call with reporters Friday, Anthony Lewandowski, the head of Uber's Advanced Technologies Group, said its cars will stay on the road without a permit.
Our main reason for not applying is that we don't think that the regulations apply to how we're driving the cars.
Uber says it's already following state law because there's always someone behind the wheel of its self-driving cars ready to take over. The company compares its technology to Tesla's self-driving autopilot feature.
What we have now is a legal battle to determine, is this really a self-driving car?
Attorney Jessica Levin is a professor at Loyola Law School.
What we see here is Uber trying to press the limits, as they do in many areas, and trying to say, this law doesn't apply to us, and if you want a law that does apply to us, you need to go back and rewrite one.
We have exclusive new information tonight about an attack on the Pentagon by Russian hackers. National security correspondent David Martin has learned how last year they seized the email system used by the nation's top military officers, the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Then Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Martin Dempsey, was alerted to the attack by an early morning phone call from the Director of the National Security Agency, Admiral Mike Rogers. Now retired, Dempsey told CBS News the attack was proceeding at an alarming speed. Within an hour, hackers had seized control of the unclassified email system used by the Pentagon's Joint Staff, the organization of some 3,500 military officers and civilians who worked for the chairman. In that time, the hackers seized the computer credentials of Dempsey and hundreds of other senior officers, the passwords and electronic signatures they used to sign on to the network. The only way to stop the attack was to take the network down. The attack, which officials now blame on Russia, began with 30,000 emails sent to a West Coast university. Of those 30,000, 4 were forwarded to members of the Joint Staff and 1 was opened, allowing the hackers in. Since it was an unclassified network, the attack had no real intelligence value. It was not spying, but a full-on assault whose only apparent purpose was to cause damage and force the Pentagon to replace both hardware and software, which took about 2 weeks to accomplish. The motive for the attack was believed to be Russian anger at economic sanctions orchestrated by the Obama administration in response to Vladimir Putin's annexation of Crimea and interference in Ukraine.